I want to tell you a quick story before I start. So this is a quick story. When you do my kind of work about China, you spend a lot of time at night on your computer and your phone because, it's a long day and China is 12 hours upside down. So Mary knows, Anna knows, Didi knows, that my co-author should know that at 9 o'clock at night, I will get to my computer a lot of times and do my email, my phone call, and all this, good work for a few hours before I go to bed. So my days is typically very long, maybe like 12, 13 hours a day. And, but this day, January 15 on 2008, is a special day. That was the day that Apple was launching their laptop called the MacBook Air. It's a very thin laptop that they launched for the first time, and it was really a big deal for Apple. And Steve Jobs was launching that laptop at their biggest conference, in California. At about 9:46 p.m. my time in New York, which is about 6 o'clock, their time, I got an email from Steve Jobs. So I said, whoa, that's strange. He must be busy doing his launch for the big conference. He must be super busy. Why he have time to send me an email? So I thought, for a moment, it must be my co-author, Michael Zakkour, who played a joke on me, say, hey, Savio, I'm Steve Jobs, and how are you? And I quickly realized that it's not Michael. It's the real Steve Jobs. And I was surprised. And after I come up from my chair, which I fell off from my chair, and I looked at that email again, and he was asking me how to get iPhone to sell in China. At that time, Apple iPhone was made in China, of course. They still make in China now. But however, they're having a hard time at that time to sell their phone in China. They were negotiating with China Mobile, the #1 mobile phone carrier in China, but it's going nowhere. Chairman Wang of China Mobile was having fun talking to Steve Jobs, but he's not committing anything to him. He just keeps on saying yes and nod his head and having a lot of fun because it's Steve Jobs on the other side. So Steve was very frustrated. He knows that he must get entry to sell his best phone in the world called iPhone into China. He knows it will be the #1 market for him, but he must get a license to sell. There's only 3 companies in China that can sell iPhone. China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom. And China Mobile is the largest player with at that time, over 500 million subscribers at that time. So he's not going anywhere. He was very frustrated, not getting a no straight answer from Chinese people, because we are very polite people. We never say no. So I told Steve through email, I said, Steve, forget about it. You're not getting anywhere with Chairman Wang at China Mobile. They're not ready for you technology-wise. They would not do a deal with you. He's retiring in 2 years. He's not going to do anything for you. But of course, you're Steve Jobs. It'd be fun to talk to you. But however, you must get into China right now because it's the biggest consumer market in the world, and you would love your phone, and you're already late. If you wait any longer, you will go nowhere. So please, for God's sake, negotiate with Chairman Chang at China Unicom immediately, and you will get an entrance immediately. And if you need help, we know some board members there. We can help you make some connections, and they're ready for you. Technology-wise, they're willing to trump China Mobile for a long time. So he was debating with me on email, saying, well, they're a small little company, Savio. We're Apple. You don't deal with a small company. They're a small company. I said, excuse me, Steve. How many subscribers you have legally in China now? 0? Yeah. And do you also know that you have 2 million phones that you sold, gray market, people didn't buy subscribers and just take it to China and open it illegally to use them in China. They love your phones, but you have to get a license to sell. And China Unicom is not that small, 150 million subscribers at that time. It's not small. I said, get in now, don't wait, and then after you get in and get a license to sell, they will buy a lot of your phones. And a year or 2 later, China Telecom, the smallest player, would also sign on. And then 2 years from then, or 3 years from then, China Mobile, her new chairman, by that time, they will be ready for you. And you have all three of them, and you'll be very happy. So don't wait, do it now. Now, to his credit, Steve Jobs was very open-minded, and he did have his team initiate the discussions, and the rest, as they say, is history. Apple, I'll play a video later on about Apple also at the end, that today they are number 2 in China. Number 2 in China. And they're making, the announcement just came out a few days ago, they were making about $19 billion of sales the last quarter, which is tremendous. From 0 to $19 billion of sales in China alone, which they count also Taiwan and Hong Kong, in how many years? And they have a chance to even be number 1 with some luck. Of course, the other players are also very aggressive. So why I'm telling you all this story is not to impress you, but the best and the brightest of companies in the world are trying to get a piece of the China consumers. We call them super consumers because they're just so big in scale and so fast changing and challenging to navigate. And it's not easy to learn about what they would buy and how they would buy certain things. On the outside looking in, they look like they're like us. They look like they like to wear the same thing that we wear, buy the same thing that we buy, but they may be modern, but they're not Western. You have to understand the culture and the history of China in order to understand why they buy certain things and why they buy what they buy. And in fact, in our book, with Michael, that we spend half the book talking about the history and culture of China consumers, going back, way back, and tell them why make certain things happen, why certain things happen to shape their thinking, why their Confucianism is still important to know. You don't need to be bilingual, you don't need to speak Mandarin, and in fact, Mandarin is hard to learn, unless you're Mary Darby, then you can speak fluent Mandarin.
Unless you come to China Institute.
Exactly, exactly. That's why they teach language and culture all the time. Thanks for these amazing people. They have the best culture and language class in the whole universe, maybe. So I think you learn the language is great, but you must know the culture. And if you know the culture and study the history, that's the best guide for you to understand how to service and tap this market. Next slide. Now, if you don't do that, you'll be like him. That's our famous president, the leader of the free world. This is when he first visited China a few years ago. And he was making the speech, it's an official welcome, big event, and he didn't pay attention to all the instruction in Chinese or English. After he finished his speech, he walked up to the other stage, to the door, tried to open that door. He pulled once, lock, sorry. He pulled one more time, still lock. He put it a third time, he made a face. And that became the Kodak moment. Was captured. It's on the other side, the door was on the other side. So what I'm trying to say that is, if you don't pay attention to the culture and history, you could be the leaders of the world. You will go to the wrong door and you get that face. Next. And this is also something to talk about Chinese history and culture. In the book, we'll talk about Admiral Zheng He. 70 years before Christopher Columbus set sail to travel around the world and discover all these amazing places, he did it before Columbus, 70 years before. It was in the history, but it's not really well documented to most Americans. And at that time, he has 20,000 people on his big boat, compared to the small little dinky boat that Christopher Columbus is using. So guess which boat is Christopher Columbus? There are two boats here. This is a small little boat, and this is the big boat. And Chinese Admiral Zheng He boat is the big one. And the world famous Christopher Columbus, and still a great adventurer, this is his boat. Just to show you that Chinese people have an amazing history and culture, and despite on the surface that we are very polite and we smile, we nod our head, we yes you all the time, deep inside we're also very proud of our 5,000 years of culture, My co-author says 4,000 years. We've been always debating 4,000 and 5,000. There's 1,000 years gap there. So you have to know that underneath that surface of being very polite and cordial, we're very proud of our culture. That's something that is ingrained in our DNA. Next. Well, Chinese consumers, many of them, of course, you're the super rich, the 1% who have all the money like Diddy and Anna and people who have a lot of money, buy anything they want to buy. But also the very small portion, the majority of them are actually make good money, but they're not really rich yet. It's a term that I heard not too long ago. They call them Henry. Henry means they're high earnings but not rich yet, which is true. But you have to take into considerations by income purchasing parity that making $10,000 a year in China is equal to we make 30 grand a year here, if not more. And because it's one-child policy, many of these Chinese consumers are fed by 6 pockets, the 2 parents and the 4 grandparents that they have. They will save up all the money and buy them whatever they can afford them. The best technology, the best iPad, iPhone, iComputer, whatever you need, they will get it for you. So do not underestimate. They're young. They are actually, most of them are quite young actually. They are 10, 20 years younger than the people that you would consider middle class and spend all those money. But they are young, but they have income. They have a lot of money from their parents or their grandparents. And they were born in a time that they don't understand anything that's not good. It's all good when they're born. They were born in the mid-80s, 90s. When they put it's all good time. China's just rising. Unlike some of us who are much older in the room who've been to difficult times in China. So their outlook and their world is very different than other people. So that's what they spend. They spend a lot more money than the other people, same age. Yes. Now, I think that we all know the power of Alibaba. And Jack Ma has made a successful story of Alibaba, become the biggest e-commerce platform. And so this is terrific. And they have Alipay, who is the biggest payment systems that China use, have more than 357 million users on Alipay, 3 times of PayPal. So that's power. Now, who knows what is Alimama? Anybody know? Alibaba is the biggest e-commerce platform, right? Most people know that. Alimama is the marketing arm that helped all the vendors on the system market their brand inside the systems so they can rise to the top. Because you have a lot of people who sell similar things in the system. So Alimama help you do that. Do you know what is Ali Obama? Don't know? Ali Obama is the new system that's going to help us wipe out all the $1.4 trillion debt that we incur to China. No, that's a joke. It's not true. Not true. So Alibaba, Alimama, Ali Obama. So Costco, knowing that China is terrific. Now, we all know that we buy all these, Gucci bag, luxury goods, they all buy all these things, but they also buy other things. And Costco is very popular in America for all the Chinese American. Every Chinese that I know in America, they are all member of Costco. And in fact, when I want to see them, I don't need to barbecue. I just go to see them in the Costco in my town. They're all there, shopping, right? They love Costco. We love Costco. So Costco said, how can I sell to the Chinese consumers in China? So they are smart. Instead of just going there and open a big warehouse and charge membership and do what most people do, they learn. They say, let me do a test. Let me just, instead of open a big warehouse, don't know the Chinese people will buy our membership. Let's try to do that test online for Alibaba. So for the Tmall global system on Alibaba, they opened their own shop, Costco. And it was a hit, a big hit. And in fact, literally, the Chinese go nuts about Costco. Look at that. In the first 24 hours that Costco hit Alibaba, they sold $3.5 million in nuts. Nuts! Very cheap item. They buy nuts. They go nuts. And dry cranberries. So if you have good quality food product that the Chinese love, they'll buy them. And you know it's safe. It's coming from America. So that it's clean, it's safe. Chinese worry about the source of the food. Supply chain is not very good in China. I want to show you some of the best-selling items in Costco in China. Next one. So they do that. Starting on Tmall Global and Tmall on Alibaba. But Tmall and Tmall Global is a little different. Tmall Global allow a company who are not in China to sell your things directly to Chinese consumers directly. You don't have to be registered in China at all. You can be a company in US. You can go through Tmall Global and sell to Chinese consumers directly. It's Tmall Global. Next page. That's the number one best-selling item on Costco in China. It's the Kirkland, their own brand, extra fancy unsalted mixed nuts. It's in RMB, Chinese dollar, 129, which is about 20 bucks. Number one, $20. Number one, nuts. Number two is, Starbucks coffee, 59 yuan. Number three, who would guess that? Who would guess that? Right? But it's just the beginning. They're going to sell a lot more stuff. And they're smart. They did not charge a membership. They just let you go on site and buy. So they're doing very successfully through the e-commerce system. Now, I'm not saying that you put your stuff on Alibaba, it's going to sell automatically. No, you still need to promote them and market them, using Alimama or other tools, or find a local partner. So you need to find a way to do that. Next. So I want to share with you some of my thinking about how do you sell and market to the Chinese super consumers. And to make it easy on you, I know you're busy people, you don't have time, you're so busy. Make it easy for you. We're going to use the acronym China, CHINA, as the beginning part of the thing, so make it easy for you to remember. So, as I said before earlier, C stands for culture. H stands for history. Culture and history be your guide. You can't go wrong. Study it, learn about it, and understand why Chinese men would not wear a green baseball hat with the Yankee logo. Why giving a clock as a gift is offensive, and many, many other things. Now, I stands for Internet Tools the Chinese way. Why is that? Well, because we don't use Facebook, we don't use Tinder, we don't use all these tools that you use in America. So if you want to connect with the majority of Chinese consumers, you have to use their tools that they use. And I'll tell you more about what they use later on. And then N stands for next generations, young people. Because of one-child policy, Chinese people, the young people, the next generations have a lot of power. If you want to access the parents' money, the grandparents' money, and many other things, even the father who's an entrepreneur's money, sometimes the next generation's young people is the best portal. They have the trust and the relationship with all this spending. And of course, being that we are Confucius, train and learn, even though we are polite and we respect hierarchy, that Chinese people are very ambitious. And many of them have big ego. They may not seem that way, but they are. Don't let the surface fool you. It's not a bad thing, ego could be a good thing, right? So let's go next slide. So if you were asked to start selling your products to the Chinese consumers through e-commerce, what would you do in the first 90 days? You can call me. If you cannot afford me, call Michael. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, Michael is actually much better than me. So next.
More expensive.
Exactly. Next. Culture is important, as I said before. That's the number one thing. Master the culture, learn the culture, take your time to study it. Go to China, make more friends, and really learn about the nuances. Next is the history, obviously. That's what Confucius say. And next, this is the tool that may not be obvious to some of you, but if you're Chinese, you will know what that is. It's called WeChat. It's the number one internet tool that we use. Almost every Chinese people that I know of use it. Over 600 million people use WeChat to communicate. I always give a lot of training and class and coaching to the luxury retailer in America and tell them that you must find a way to get customers' WeChat ID and scan it. Once they accept you, you have a pass. Now that you're in their system. So this is the tool, one of the most popular tools that you must download from your iPhone, your Android, whatever phone you have is available. In fact, out of 600 million WeChat users, almost 100 million are non-Chinese. So they're getting very popular now all over the world. Next. Next generation, is the portal. And in fact, with the brilliant minds of Cornell University, Johnson School of Cornell University, and CKGSB, which stands for Chiang Kong Graduate School of Business, some of the people are here, we co-create a new program called iLead, which is to train all the young generations leaders from China and US and help them understand each other's culture. And they will spend 10 days in US to learn all these things and spend 10 days in China. And the next page will show you some of the classes that we did. This is what we did just last week. We emphasize on experiential learning. So we actually go on a pit crew, have them change all the tires on the NASCAR live to show them teamwork and communications among all the other amazing things that we do. And it's getting very powerful feedback because we learned that in order to power the understanding or better understanding between US and China, whether it's business or whatever, telling the young people what to do, what to learn is the foundations of that. That's why China Institute is doing all these good programs. That's why we're doing all the other programs to help them understand that. So that is a portal. This program is not cheap, by the way. This program is very effective, and all these well-known families sign up, the young people to go. It costs $39,000 for 20 days program. Airfare not included. So the reason being is it's such a high-quality program that they all really love to do that. They learn more about each other's culture. Next one. Of course, you know who this guy is by now. And he's doing so many things now. He's buying all these companies in America, investing in the oil industry, from finance to logistics to movie. I just heard today's news, Alibaba is investing in the next movie of Mission Impossible with Paramount. I don't know if it's on the news today. It's today's news. So they are getting into movies, even in here. So they're doing all kinds of investment, and use the more is coming. You might know that already. In here we have Black Friday, but in China we call them the Singles Day. The Singles Day is November 11, 1111. So last year, November 11th, Chinese consumers, single day, they broke the world record of e-commerce of $9.3 billion of sales one day. That's almost 2 or 3 times what we did in Black Friday. That's the power and size of Chinese super consumers. And I also predict in less than 5 years will be more than $50 billion in one day. That's the size and power of the China consumers. The power, the potential, and the promise. So, yeah, I mean, from Make in China, for all these years, today, even the best company is designed for China. They have the gold color iPhones, the rose gold color, iWatch, because they know that Chinese people love gold color. Gold color is regal. The emperor used gold color, right? So the key is, that's a good example of how they pay attention to the culture and history and designing products, because they know that Apple will sell more iPhone and iWatch and anything in China than they would even in America. Today, China is number 2 in Apple's world market share, and before you know it, we're number 1. It's not an if, it's a when it will happen. China's super consumers is like gravity. Despite all the political relationships between US and China will be rocky, good and bad, different time, doesn't matter who is in charge of administrations, I can tell you that between now and 2020, China's consumers will be getting more powerful, they will consume a lot more, and they will become the number 1 most important consumer class in the world. So if you have any product or services that you want to try to market to them, learn from them, see what they like, and get to know them. So this is the key of these generations, and it's going to be the biggest success story in the world if you follow that rule. Thank you very much. That's what I have. Thank you.